It's Platt's point of view, y'all. Let's Yo, I'm Platt, man, and I'm here at Rooney Field about to talk to first team Northeast Conference safety, Duquesne Dukes Elite Antonio Epps, man. Tap in with me. We down here at Rooney Field about to get it popping, y'all. Let's go. I'm Platt, man. I'm live from Rooney Field. I'm sitting here with all Northeastern Conference first team safety Antonio Epps, man, from Duquesne. We're going to get right into it, bro. What's going on?
What's going on? Appreciate you having me on today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me up here. Talk about your upbringing, where you grew up at. Before you answer that, though, I know you went to South Allegheny. Did you grow up in the Glassport area?
I grew up in the Liberty Borough area.
Okay.
Not too far from Glassport, probably 5-minute drive. But Liberty Borough is where I grew up. That's home. I've lived there all my life. I still go back, see my parents and everything. You know, they're still there and everything. My mom, she's from the Glassport area. Grew up in Glassport. My dad's from the Clairton area. So I got family in both areas. You know, Glassport, Clairton.
So you Mon Valley kid.
Yeah, it's all right there. So you know, I'll be visiting Clairton, Glassport a lot, family. So you know, that's
something in that water, man. It's always some good football players coming out of them areas.
Oh, for sure, definitely, yes, sir.
But talk about life as a student athlete at Duquesne University, and what's a typical day like for Antonio Epps, man?
You know, being a student athlete, you know, it has, you know, I tell you, it has ups and downs. You know, there's some days that I really enjoy it, and there's some days where I'm just like, man, like, it's a grind. So, you know, like a typical day for me, you know, specifically this season, you know, I don't got classes Monday, Friday, it's just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedules. You know, wake up, you know, I like to get my Bible and everything, you know, prayer, get my word before I start my day off.
That's what's
Do
up.
that, you know, brush teeth, get ready for the day, get some breakfast in me. Usually, since I don't have class, I just have lift, usually around 11 o'clock for the day. After that, I just chill prior to around 2. That's when I have our DB meeting, go over like notes, film, and everything like that. And that's probably about for an hour. After that, we hit the field around 3:20 to like 5:30 for practice. And then after that, it's kind of like the rest of the day is that to me, you know, go eat, kick it with my friends, you know, just do different stuff, you know. So, you know, this is part of the time, like, you know, where I say like it's not really a grind because I'm in my last year, so you know, my schedule's like real eased out for me right now. But
right.
My first like 3 years was more of like a typical grind, like, you know, getting acclimated to, you know, culture, you know, being a student, going to class, and, you know, trying to figure all that out at the same time. But I feel like I'm in a place now where everything is figured out for me now. I know what I'm doing. I got my schedule, so, you know, it's just let's go do it.
What's your favorite class?
I'd say digital video production. I'm a journalism major, so I work with like a lot of like broadcasting, cameras, and all that.
No doubt.
In that class specifically, we it's like no paper, no writing assignments. It's all we take stuff out from the library, cameras, video stuff. We have to like pretty much like make clips, make movies, make stuff like that, cut together and like showcase it to like the class and everything. So I feel like that's a real good class for me to you know, showcase like creativeness, you know, you know, a little bit about me outside of, you know, sports and everything within the classroom. So that's probably my favorite class for sure.
What's your GPA?
I'm sitting around at 3.4, 3.5.
Excellent. That is excellent.
Trying to stay on top of everything, you know.
What do you like about college, and what don't you like about college?
What I don't like about college, you know, I could say, you know, was the early mornings a lot. You know, I've kind of accustomed to that now, but, you know, when I first came in, the early mornings were a struggle for me because, you know, I look back at like high school and everything. High school, you know, getting up for class in the morning, doing everything seemed easy. You know, I had people waking me up, doing all that. But in college, you're on your own. You're basically, you know, everything you do is on you. So that was kind of like, you know, I'm a lot better at it now, obviously, but that's probably what I'd say the least favorite thing was, you know, getting up, getting started. Because, you know, once you get out of the bed and everything, that's kind of like, okay, like, let's get our stuff done, let's get going, let's get this day going. I feel like that's the hardest part. But, you know, once you get used to it, I feel like it comes naturally, and that's what it does for me at this point. My favorite thing probably is, you know, I'd probably say getting to, like, you know, be around my teammates, you know, being around my friends a lot, you know, a lot of people know, like, I tell my friends, like, now all the time, like, when I first came into college, you know, I didn't really talk to nobody, I was real to myself and everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like in my shell. You know, now being a senior, you know, I'm out of that shell, you know, I see my friends all the time, they kind of, like, keep me grounded, you know, keep me at peace, you know, with everything going on, like work, class, you know, football, if it gets too much sometimes, you know, those are like my guys, you know, I hang out with them and they kind of just like, you know, take the burden off, take the pressure off, you know, just to like remind
Build that camaraderie.
Yeah, just to remind myself, you know, this is like, you know, live life, you know, like let's just like take our mind off and everything. So
what part of your game do you think you need to improve most on, Epps?
I say I'd want to improve most specifically on being consistent in man coverage a lot. My whole like high school career, like I was a corner, and I kind of predicated my game off of like, you know, just having more talent, you know, just working harder than, you know, I was going against. I wasn't really honing on my technique a lot. And my first couple years of college, you know, I never really was like technical with stuff I did. I just kind of just like was working off of like my God-given ability and everything. Mm-hmm. But these last 2 years, we've adapted with our coverages. We run a lot more man now, so it was kind of like, you know, I had to like, you know, force myself, you know, to get better at it if I want to like be consistent on that field. So, you know, during the summer and everything, I work with like my safety coach and everything on specific safety skills, you know, to hone in and better like my man skills. And I think it's definitely starting to pay off. You know, there's always a lot more work to do, but I feel like I definitely see a difference.
That's good, man. Who you listen to pre-game, man, to get you amped up? Who you be jamming to before the games?
Honestly, I'm a mix of everything, you know. My teammates will tell you, my friends, I'm an R&B junkie. Like, I'm not a typical guy. I'm listening to, like, you know, typical, like, I'm not listening to, like, rap or something.
Okay, you like to be calm. You want to be mellow.
Like, I'm, like, real, like, chill.
Okay,
like,
no rowdiness.
I don't mind doing it. Like, if I hear it, like, I'll play it for sure. But, like, I'm, like, R&B guy,
Ain't nothing wrong with it. That's cool.
Playing, so, you know,
that's cool.
Like, my friends be getting on me, like, you know, telling me it's, like, you know, I'm real light-skinned for, like, that and everything. I'll be listening to like Tory Lanez, Chris Brown, you know.
That's not a bad. Them ain't bad go-to choices.
I'm trying to think. Like I got a little Frank Ocean in there. You know, just the R&B. Like I like soft, smooth music. Yeah, so that's what I say. It's a little different than most people, but that's what I prefer.
Nothing wrong with that. Favorite pregame meal?
Steak for sure. Steak. I love steak. Yeah, steak.
Okay.
That's always been my favorite meal. We actually get that usually on the dinners of our games usually, so that's like my favorite part of like traveling and everything. That steak dinner is
nothing wrong with a steak, man. Tell me something most people don't know about you, Epps.
Most people don't know that I like to like read and write a lot. You know, being an athlete, you know, people kind of have like their, you know, typical like stereotypes, you know, what an athlete like likes and stuff. But no one really knows that like I love reading, I love writing. That's part of the reason why I major in journalism. That's kind of like my I wouldn't say other side of me, but like my side people really don't know. Like, you know, I don't like journal or anything, but like, you know, when I say I read my Bible and everything, like I have like a notebook specifically, you know, for everything. I'll just like jot thoughts down, stuff going through my day, you know, stuff like that. So I just like to write stuff down and just like, you know, just put it on paper and get my thoughts out.
That's good, man. You was a standout at South Allegheny on the football field, man, all state. Give me your favorite football memories, man. You was what class of 2021?
Yes, sir.
Yup. Yeah. Give me your favorite WPIAL football memories at South Allegheny.
Oh, that's the easy one. I tell people all this time when they ask. Freshman year, so I was probably about 5'8", like 150 as a freshman. You know, I came in, you know, not expecting, you know, too much right away, but you know, I was kind of in the mix, you know, from the beginning of the season. I played corner and receiver at that time, so we're getting ready for Still Valley Week, and if you knew anything about Still Valley at that time, they were just coming off of a two-way WPIAL and state title.
Yeah, those Ironmen, yeah, pretty good.
And one of our starting corner that week got suspended.
Okay.
So, you know, I got the call up, though. I'm starting my first game ever against the defending 2A state champs on our home field.
Wow.
You know, in front of my friends and family and everything. You know, like, I'm like, and I remember I got told that. I'm kind of like, okay, like, we got to, like, let's lock in. If we going to be something, this is where we're going to have to prove it right here. This is going to be a game where there's a bunch of talent, so let's go showcase ourselves. So we get to the game, starting that corner. You know, obviously they see I'm a freshman out there, so they try me the first three plays. A fade ball. I got a PBU on it actually. So, you know, after that, I was kind of like, okay, I got some confidence. And they didn't come back to it. And I'll never forget this moment. I don't know if you know Monte Struthers.
Okay, I'm familiar.
He was at Still Valley, went to Delaware for a little bit.
Right.
He was the receiver that I was on. I remember it might have been the third quarter or something. It was like about there, the 40-yard line. He ran a fade ball. Quarterback just bombed it up. And that was probably the best play I made in my high school year at that point. I pretty much ran the route for him at that point, and I went up and picked it off in the end zone. And I remember, like, catching the ball, like, rolling in the end zone. I stood up, and I kind of just, like, blacked out for a minute, like, like wow, like we're here. Like this is like this is
Yeah.
like the standard now. Like
You arrived. That was your moment.
That was like my moment that like told me like okay, like we can do this, because like I've always wanted to play in college and everything, and that moment kind of like told me like we made a play as a freshman against a team full of Division I talent. So like, and that moment will always stick with me. Like that was kind of like the beginning of me like taking it like, okay, football is gonna be my career path. We gotta take this serious. Let's go from here. So that's always gonna be my favorite moment.
Okay, man. We want to get into the upcoming season, man, for the Duquesne Dukes. So how are you feeling physically and mentally heading into this upcoming season, man?
I'm feeling physically and mentally, great right now. Going through camp, there's always, bumps and bruises here and there. We're sore, has some like minor stuff going on, but as of right now, we're feeling great. We're amped up, for this first game and everything. I feel completely healthy, no bumps, no bruises, no soreness, no nothing. As far as physically, mentally, I'm feeling good. I try to keep myself, at peace, not to get too ahead of myself and everything. I try to keep myself calm, cool, and collected. Really, about just taking it day by day. Just doing what I do daily. Just going through my routine, staying organized, just doing what I do. Just trying to get better each day. So, up until this game, this season in general, I'm feeling good both physically and mentally.
You led the team in tackles the last 2 seasons, man. So what aspects of your game do you attribute this consistency to?
I would say a lot of it has to do with like, play recognition and knowledge on the field, knowing like where I'm supposed to be at and reading everything. Like my first couple years, I think that was the biggest thing for me when I wasn't playing. I feel like the ability was always there. It was just me getting to process, what I was doing on the field, where I need to be, and what's going on and everything. So, the last 2 years, I've been able to, understand the playbook, understand where I need to be at all times, understand where my teammates need to be at all times, and I feel like that allows me to play faster, even faster than I'm able to run and everything. So whenever you get that down, the knowledge and play recognition, everything kind of like slows down in a sense, because, I'm kind of just a safety, just reading all the plays. Whenever I read the play, I know my key, I know my assignment, so at that point, it's just like, all right, let's go make a play, let's go play football.
Okay, man. What are your personal goals for your Redshirt season, both statistically and in terms of leadership?
Statistically, I say, bringing down a lot more picks this year. Last year I dropped about 4 or 5 interceptions.
Oh, wow.
People still get on me now to this point, so definitely bringing the ball back to, where
hit that jugs machine,
Epps. I did it all summer, yeah, for sure.
That's cool, man.
But that's the biggest thing, creating more turnovers in a bigger sense. I feel like the tackling, is always there. I just feel like I want to be like, that guy who's able to make that game-changing play and everything, interception, forced fumble, TFL, sacks, everything like that. And as far as leadership, I say, just trying to help out the guys in the room as much as I can. I'm the oldest safety in the room up to this point, which is kind of crazy saying out loud right now because I was always the youngest one.
Right, you the veteran now, man.
So just kind of like being there for them, helping them out any way I can, because, we got a lot of new faces in the safety room, so, I'm always trying to help them out, making sure they're good with everything they need to be doing to make sure we're all able to play as fast and as smart as we can on that field.
Okay, man. Talk about your first interception in your career versus Youngstown State last year, man. Take me back to that moment real quick, if you could.
That moment, that sticks with me as well, because that was like the first time I made like a play like that in college up to that point. So leading up to that, the drive, I was actually out the full first half after the first play of the game due to concussion protocol. I got
oh, wow.
Head. So I was kind of like on the sidelines, just itching to get back out there, seeing like, like I just hate not being on the field, hate missing out on stuff, especially stuff like, when I know I can play. So, after halftime, as soon as halftime ended, I went to the locker room, got checked, and when they told me I was cleared, I'm like, all right, let's go. So that drive coming out, they were on the 10-yard line, I think, coming out around there, on their other side of the field. And it was like a 20-25 play drive. Like the drive was long, tired and everything. And we get to one of our cover 1 plays, and I'm in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And before the pick, I'm playing DB on the guy running the slot fade, and I think I'm in good position. I break the pass up. They end up calling a PI on me. Wow. And I was like, and if you ever go back and watch it, you can see like I'm like tripping out on the field, like, yo, like what's that? That's terrible call. So I was like mad in that moment, but head coach, was like, calm down, we need you, like it's all good, like next play. So a couple plays later, we get down in the red zone. They come out 3 wide. I'm in the slot again. He runs a corner ball, and D-line put great pressure on the quarterback, forced him to throw it up. I'm tracking the ball, as I'm running and everything, and it's in the end zone, and I kind of see the ball, and I'm kind of like, let's turn to receiver here, let's go make a play. And that's kind of what happened. I caught the ball and everything, went down the end zone. I'm just like, I'm celebrating. I'm also like in that moment, like it's kind of like emotions everywhere, because I'm like, that's my first like interception, first like huge play, like in college and everything. It kind of like changed the momentum for us in the game too. So, I was kind of like, after that moment, just like, we could do it on the college level. We did it on the high school level. We could do it on the college level. So now let's keep going. Let's just keep going.
Definitely, man. That's what's up. Okay, man. Central Connecticut State. Last season, you guys lose the winner-take-all game for an automatic NCAA FCS berth. What did you learn about yourself and your team after that tough loss, man? Because I know that hurt, man.
Yeah, that loss will always stick with me and the rest of the team. What I say we learned from that game is, how much mentally stronger, we all are as a whole. Because, going into that game was on an 8-game win streak. We were favorites going into that game and everything. Unfortunately, we did lose the game, credit to CCSU. But I learned, that game kind of made us stronger. That's kind of been like we haven't really been like, thinking too much on it up to this point. We got to wait for this season and everything. But It's always in the back of our minds, like, okay, we can never let that feeling ever happen again. Because, I had a lot of people I was played with and close with on that team. That was their last game ever. And their career just ended just like that. Going into my last year, I've made it like, a staple in my mind. Like, I can't let that happen to me, especially 2 years in a row. Like, I want to go out, like, with a conference championship, play in the playoffs again, win playoff games, etch this team in Duquesne history by winning multiple playoff games. We've all been band together, stronger together. Just, even the guys who transferred in who weren't part of that team, they understand everything about that too. That's kind of been like our goal and like our mindset is like that feeling last year, leaving that locker room on that 8-hour bus ride, that can never happen again. We can't let that affect us in any way.
So what do you think y'all team need to do better to beat Central Connecticut State? Because it seems like that y'all got everybody else. It seems like they're the kryptonite.
I think limiting the explosive plays for sure. I think if you go back and watch that game, there wasn't really too many drives where they kind of like drove down on us. It was more, they hit us with an explosive play and kind of put it in from there. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, limiting those explosive plays. And you want to do that always against every team, but I feel like for them specifically, that was like, what hurt us pretty much, putting them in good position for them to get points. Limiting those explosive plays and limiting touchdowns and points is definitely going to be the goal.
Okay, man. A FCS berth, we kind of talked about that. So what would that mean to you and your team?
It would mean a lot. Especially like I said, like my last year, I had a taste of the playoffs in 2023 when we lost to Youngstown. I would want nothing more to get back and experience that again, because that was a great feeling. Being on TV, ESPN Plus, playing in front of friends and family in a playoff game, and plus Duquesne hasn't won a playoff game, I want to say, since 2018. So getting to the playoffs, winning the game would mean, everything to me. Because we have a lot of guys on this team specifically who are in their last year and everything. So, winning a playoff game and making it to the playoffs would do a whole lot for us as a team, and I feel like do a lot for this program as a whole as well.
Duquesne defense, man. It's been a strong point the last few years down here on the Bluff, man. What do you see as the biggest strength of the defense this season, and where do you think is room for improvement?
I feel like the biggest strength of this defense is real experience and veteran-led. Everyone on the defense has played in multiple games, started many games, whether they were transferred over here. So we have a lot of experience, a lot of veteran older guys on this defense. So I feel like that will help us a lot, especially in these bigger games and everything. So, we'll definitely lean on that. The leadership, veteranness of everyone in this on this defense. I think just room to improve is just being able to communicate a lot better with everyone. We've always been able to mesh through spring ball, summer ball, fall camp. Whenever there's new people and everything, it's always good, get communication in, communicate. And I feel like that's a sign of a good defense, always communicating. Whether it's pre-snap, post-snap, in the middle of the play, communication, I feel like we can always improve on that. And I feel like when we get that down packed, we can be a really, really elite defense.
That's cool. As a Redshirt Senior and team captain, how do you approach your role as a leader on and off the field, Epps?
I kind of approach it, a lot more open-minded now up to this point. I've, being voted captain, kind of like let me know like how my teammates see me, how they value me and everything. You know, in high school, you know, I was kind of always looked at as a leader and everything, but my leadership style was more like, you know, by example. I wasn't really too vocal as much. You know, I was really learning that, you know, through up to college and everything. So I feel like, you know, this year specifically, I've been like learning to be more vocal. You know, use my words a lot more, bring the guys together, say stuff. You know, just let them know that like that I'm here, that like, you know, I'm open to hear anything. You know, we're all in this together. You know, just because like, you know, I'm a leader, captain, doesn't mean, you know, it's just limited to, you know, what I have to say. You know, just as a whole, you know, I want them to know that like everything we do as a defense, DB room, whatever it is, we all matter. We all value each other. Everything is needed within this. So, you know, I feel like I'm just trying to like, you know, just be better at it each day. Just grow. What can I take from the day before and apply to the new day just to be a better leader for them and for the team?
Cool, man. Hey, Epps, it is game week. You guys play the Pitt Panthers Saturday afternoon at Redshirt Stadium. You guys are the underdog. So what would a win over Pitt mean in a season opener? What would that mean to you, man? You go over at Redshirt and pull that off.
That would be special, you know, for me and the team specifically. You know, we've been talking about it ever since, you know, it got scheduled, it got confirmed. You know, it's not specifically the city game, but, you know, it is a city game.
Right.
With, you know, everything. So going in there and be able to take a win would just mean a lot. You know, I'm from Pittsburgh. We have a lot of guys from Pittsburgh.
Right.
I've never played in that stadium. I've only been to Pitt games, Steelers
Okay.
games, and everything.
Man.
So being able to finally get to play on that field, you know, is a dream come true. You know, if I'm able to get on that field, you know, we bring home a win. You know, just for this program, you know, just for the team in general, it just means so much. You know, just to like let us know that like, you know, even though we're FCS, we're still able to compete with FBS level players. We still able to go out there, play football. You know, nothing changes. You know, so we're gonna put out our 11. We're gonna put out their 11. We're gonna go play football.
Cool, man. What's it like playing for head coach Jerry Schmidt? He's entering his 21st season as Duquesne's head football coach, man. Talk about what it's like playing for him.
It's great. You know, I've definitely been able to, last couple years, been able to form a relationship with him. You know, being able to talk to him, you know, he's a real understanding guy. You know, very calm. You know, he listens. You know, he's a great leader, a great mentor. You know, the conversations I had with him aren't anything that usually crazy, but you know, just knowing that he's there, he understands, he hears me and everything, you know, is always great, especially from a head coach, because you always want that relationship with your head coach to
right.
be good. Like that's always a great thing, you know. And he's a legend. When you think of Pittsburgh football, you know, Pittsburgh sports, you know, Jerry Schmidt's name has to be in there. You know, he's a legend around here. You know, I'm glad I've been able to play for him for the last 4 to 5 years. You know, it's just been a great experience. You know, he's taught me a lot, done a lot for me. So, you know, I'm really grateful and appreciative of him.
One word, describe head coach Schmidt. Just one word. Legend. Okay. Best player you played against in college football, man.
Good question. That's a real good question, actually. That stumped me. Honestly, it probably had to be back in 2022. As far as like, you know, what they did in that year, how the team was that year. We played Florida State.
Okay.
Jordan Travis, the quarterback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we played him in 2022. You know,
I remember that game.
Everything that team had in 20, they went 12-1 the one year and everything. So it'd probably be him. He really didn't miss too many completions that game. Completed, you know, he was just like a game manager. We just seen it, like, you know, sometimes you could just tell when people are just the NFL type of people, and
yeah,
like just showed us that he was an NFL type of player.
Who's the toughest player you had to cover and the toughest player you had to tackle in college football?
Toughest player I had to cover. I'd probably give it to 2 people. Toledo last year. We played them. I forget his first name. Last name was Vandross. Number 2, shifty receiver in the slot. You know, so we play a lot of man here a lot. You know, safety, we got to come down in the slot and cover. And I remember a couple times that he was just shifty and feel like he was fast. Like covering them slot guys ain't really fast. He was just fast. And the second one probably have to be Max Tomczak from Youngstown State.
Okay, Mike Tomczak's people. Yeah, I think that's his son or his nephew.
Yeah, lined up. Covered him a little bit, 2023 in the playoff game in the slot, and then last year had it too a couple times. You know, he's real crisp route runner, you know, can run, you know, very, very shifty and everything. So I feel like those are probably the two hardest covers I've had to cover in college at this point, for sure.
Okay, toughest stadium to play in, man. What stadium had the most hostile environment since you've been here, man? When you go on the away games.
Honestly, WVU. I'm not gonna lie. Like, NEC. If I had to give it to like an FBS team, I'd say WVU was definitely It was definitely because being a Pittsburgh team, like they don't rock with Pittsburgh.
Right? No, they don't. It's
so
real hostile down in Morgantown.
I remember when we was coming through, they was throwing stuff at our butts. Even though we're not kidding, they was like still from Pittsburgh. They were still doing that. You know, our bench was right in front of their student sections. They was like looking up the roster, talking crazy and everything. So that was probably FBS wise. And even though I've only played them 3 times in my career, Youngstown for FCS wise is probably the
down there in Penguin Country.
Oh, definitely. We've only played them at Youngstown every time.
Yeah.
2022 we played them. 2023 the playoff game, and then last year we played them. You know, their student section they get real crazy too because our bench is right in front of theirs too.
Okay.
They'll talk stuff. You know, pull up the roster, say stuff, just find out stuff about you, talk crazy. You know, but, you know it's college football. You know, it's
right.
Fun,
It comes with
like,
the territory.
I enjoy. You know, it like kind of like it's motivating. You know, like it's just like that environment kind of just like brings that thrill. Like you know, this is like college football. That's what it's about. So definitely those two for sure.
Favorite NFL team, favorite NFL player.
Team definitely Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, my man, we Steeler Nation.
They got to, grew up watching them a lot. Favorite player, Brian Branch, Detroit Lions.
Oh, he's versatile. You
Yes,
kind of similar, man. Wow.
I try to like.
That's crazy.
I try to like. That's kind of who I emulate my game.
I see similarities.
I've watched him at Alabama. Being the Lions. He started off nickel. His rookie year, then kind of transitioned to like being a high safety the last couple years. I kind of like last year during the season, like I'd come home and I just like kind of just turn on like all 22 film of Brian Branch. Highlights, watch him work in the slot, man coverage, watch how he lurks the field and zone.
He's definitely a dog.
Coming off the edge, or if he's just coming down making the hits. He just does a lot of things that I try to like emulate myself, and everything. So that's definitely my favorite player to watch.
Favorite food to eat. Steak, okay.
Steak and chicken wings.
Steak and chicken, okay.
That's my favorite, steak and chicken wings. For sure.
Favorite TV show.
Everybody Hates Chris. That's my favorite. I got Hulu and it's on there, so I'm watching that religiously. That's definitely my favorite show. I grew up watching. My dad would put it on, growing up, and it stuck with me, and I watched it all the time. Reruns.
Not a bad choice. Favorite sports movie.
Remember the Titans for sure.
Okay, that's a good
Denzel
one.
Washington's probably one of my favorite actors for sure. He was great in that movie. That movie's my dad showed me that one too. So that was a great one to watch. Football wise too. Also Coach Carter, was a great one too.
Yeah, I like Coach Carter.
I watched that a lot too. When I played basketball in high school, that was kind of like a movie I'd watch and everything. So those are probably my favorite 2 sports movies for sure.
Who do you model your football game after? Was it Brian Branch? We just talked about that.
Brian, just trying to be that Swiss Army knife, that dude who does it all. Being able to cover man, zone, blitz, tackle. I just try to do it all. So that's definitely what I try to emulate.
What's your favorite memory playing football for Duquesne University so far?
Definitely got to be 2023. Winning the NEC outright and making a playoff game. That's definitely because, I still talk with a lot of guys from that team who aren't here anymore. Just that year, as a defense and DB, just in general, that whole room was like, we were just real connected, real bonded. Like, we all kind of like came into Duquesne, like, together pretty much. Like guys that I came in with were on that team, and guys who was a couple years older were on that team. We kind of like went through the ups and downs together. Getting to that 2023 season, getting to that last game against Merrimack and winning it on the road, kind of like was like a memory I'll never forget. And then playing in that playoff game, being here for Thanksgiving, and not really being at home like I was the previous years. Like, feeling that like I never really felt before because I was always home during Thanksgiving. So finally be able to play football. During Thanksgiving, was a dream come true, and that whole experience, was definitely one of my favorites.
Tell me, man, what's the policies for being late due to class commitments, man, or missed practices being late due to class commitments? How does that work?
We kind of have this not really a 4-strike rule, but it's kind of a sense like the first strike, you miss something, you go in the weight room with the strength coach at like 5 in the morning, do remembering drills, what we call them. It's like drills that get you to remember not to do something you're not supposed to do. That's by yourself the first time. You do it the second time. It's your position group. So, you never want to get on their bad side and get the arm in there. The third time is the whole side of the ball. And the fourth time is a meeting with the head coach determining if you're going to be here or not.
Oh, wow.
honestly, sometimes probably shouldn't even get to that point, but I mean, if it needs to, that's kind of like the process here. So that's kind of like how things are really handled here.
So what you like to do when you ain't playing football?
I'm a real chill guy. I really don't like to do too much. You know, I like to go for walks a lot. You know, a lot of my friends, you know, everything, they always tell me, like, get on me. Like, I always got my headphones in. So, I put my headphones in. I'll just go walk sometimes. You know, I'll walk anywhere. Like, sometimes I walk up here sometimes.
Just
to
the sightsee, huh?
I just put my headphones in, listen to music, and just walk. You know, I like to walk. You know, I'll read, you know. Or I'll just kick it, like, with my guys and everything. We'll just chill, you know, apartment down the south side. We'll just have people over. Me and my roommate, we got a Wii with the Michael Jackson experience on it.
Okay.
So, like, have people over, you know, order some food, you know, play the Wii and stuff, just have a good time and just hang out and try to enjoy, you know, these last couple months, years of college and everything.
Right.
So that's probably what I choose.
So if you could invite 4 famous people over for dinner, who's your 4?
Number 1 got to be Jesus Christ. For sure, that's got to be number 1. Always.
Okay.
That's my first one always, you know. Strong relationship, trying to build it every day, you know, it's got to be number 1. 2, 3, and 4. I'm a LeBron James fan.
Me too.
Big LeBron fan. LeBron for sure. You know, love talking about basketball. You know what it takes to be great and everything. LeBron James for sure. Like I said, I'm a Chris Brown fan. You know, Chris Brown, music-wise. You know.
Crazy.
Been one since I was 5 years old. You know, that's my favorite artist for sure. The last one, I'd probably say it would have to be, honestly, be Mike Tomlin. I feel like that surprised a lot of people, but he's been the Steelers head coach for a long time. I actually played against his son in basketball.
Oh, yeah, Dino.
Actually, it was actually Mace.
Oh, Mace. Okay, okay.
Yeah, he went to Shady Side.
Okay.
He was a year older than me. He played basketball for them, so I played. Mike Tomlin came to a couple games.
Yeah.
He'd be like up in the corner, like tucked away and everything. You know, I've seen him at like our games, the Shady Side games. You know, I've always been a big Mike Tomlin fan. You know, go to Steelers games, watch Steelers fans. So
yeah, right.
My top 4 right there.
So when did Duquesne start recruiting you, and what made you pick Duquesne for academics and athletics?
They started recruiting me around, my junior year. Coach Darnell Richardson, he also went to South Allegheny. He was the one who reached out to me first through text message and everything. He's the one who gave me my offer as well. You know, at that time, Dave Oakfar was also the D coordinator here. He went to South Allegheny as well, so I kind of had like.
Oh, you had a connection, yeah, right.
They knew family, friends of mine. They knew my trainer, Shelby Harris, and everything. So, you know, them recruiting me and everything kind of like gave me a sense of like, you know, just that home vibe. You know, they went to where I went to school. They're from here. They coach at a school 30 minutes from me and everything. So I kind of built that relation and everything. When it came time to commit, it came down, you know, those connections, you know, being able to play in front of friends and family. So it was kind of easy choice for me. So I remember I let them all know that I wanted to come here. You know, I wanted to continue here, football and academically wise. You know, academically they have, you know, great programs and everything. You know, a Duquesne degree, you know, does a lot for a lot of people. You know,
right,
it's a
definitely,
real great
man.
academic school. You know, I've been able to learn a lot from here. Been able to take a lot of great classes and different stuff here. So, you know, those are a lot of the reasons why I decided to come here. You know, it's just, you know, it's home. A lot of connections. I've built a lot of friends and great relationships here as well. So those are definitely the reasons why I chose to come here.
Dream vacation spot?
It was Hawaii at one point, but we actually went to Hawaii in 2022.
Okay.
So I kind of got to scratch that off. So now I'd probably say, I feel like Greece. Just Greece. I've always wanted to visit like Greece.
Okay.
I've always, you know, people said I've heard good things and everything. And it kind of just seems like something like, you know, I just randomly picked, but like, it just seems like, you know, it just has like, you know, like a tourist, you know, real like, what's the word? Just seems like it has a real good vibe. I probably pick Greece. Something different.
What's the name of the last book you read?
The Bible.
The Bible? That's great. That is excellent, man. Nothing wrong with being close to God.
I got to rate my bag, actually. I try to make sure I get my time in every day, every morning, every night, throughout the day, whenever I can. So, you know, I make sure I get that in for sure.
What would graduating from Duquesne University mean to you, man?
Oh, it means a lot. I'll be the first one in my family to, as far as like my mom and dad, to graduate from college. So, you know, that's
Congrats,
always
man.
been a huge, you know, appreciate you. That's always been like a huge goal. My parents, you know, always told me, you know, we're gonna get you to school for football and everything, but we want that degree too. We want you to graduate. So, I'm 6 months out. December is when I graduate.
Oh, that's what's
I'm
up,
aiming
man.
towards that. You know, I'm excited for that. You know, it would just mean a lot to finally have that. You know, Duquesne University degree. You know, just to show like, you know, like we did it. We got through college. You know, everything. Because, you know, a lot of people know like my first 2 years in college did not start out great at all.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to, you know, stop. I wanted to quit at one point my freshman year. I was ready to be done. You know, it would just be a testimony, like, you know, that, like, you know, we stuck it out, we did it, we got it, we deserved it.
Definitely, man. I was checking out NFL Draft Diamonds, and I see they have you as a sleeper FCS NFL draft prospect. So my question to you is, what would getting drafted in the NFL mean to you, man?
A lot.
Because that's big to be on NFL Draft Diamonds, bro.
That's always a dream, you know, for every football player, you know. And I kind of like, you know, coming from South Allegheny, you know, smaller school, you know, even at Duquesne, you know, smaller school and everything, you know, you don't really see too many people, you know, in the league from Duquesne or drafting everything, you know. Getting that would just mean a lot. It'd be a blessing, you know. It would just be, I'd have to give it all to my parents, you know. They're the ones who pushed me, installed in me, you know. Who cares if you go to a smaller school? If they're gonna find you, they're gonna find you.
Period.
So you just gotta go out there, do the work, and if it happens, if it's God's will, it's God's will. So, you know, that's like the mindset I'm having. You know, gonna go out there for this last season, showcase what I can do, and let the chips fall where they fall after that. So, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, any opportunity that may come. You know, I'm just, you know, excited, like, you know, for the whole process. You know, because the NFL is, you know, that's a dream for everybody. You know, being on TV, you know, would be so much, you know, just coming from both schools in high school and college, you know, where I came from. So that'd be nothing more that I want to do, be able to put on for my, you know, my boys at SA, you know, and my boys at Duquesne, for sure.
Okay, I ain't got that many questions left. We almost finished, but okay, so if you don't get drafted in the NFL, would you consider playing in like the CFL, the UFL, the Arena League?
Definitely, for sure. You know, I've actually, I looked into a lot more of those as well. You know, obviously the NFL ain't the only league out there.
Exactly.
There's other leagues and everything. So I've looked into that. You know, anything that would allow me to continue playing football after Duquesne would be a blessing. You know, I'm not stuck on just NFL or I'm done. Like, you know, I'm definitely open-minded to, you know, other leagues and everything. It'd just be a blessing, like I said, just be able to play football after college. You know, not too many people get that opportunity.
Right.
So if I was able to, you know, I would full-handedly take that opportunity. And a lot of times, some of those opportunities that aren't the NFL can lead you to the NFL. You
Definitely.
Just never know. So I'm definitely open to it. You know, I've looked into it. You know, I've watched it a little bit. So, you know, I would definitely be interested in other leagues for sure.
Give me a player to watch on your team, man. It's a sleeper that ain't nobody talking about for the Duquesne Dukes.
I say T.J. Jones. You know,
Okay.
we have a lot of guys on our team who have been getting a lot of love.
What position? My fault.
He's a safety.
Okay.
He's the other safety alongside me.
Oh, okay.
You know.
All right. I'll be tapped in.
So because we have 4 safeties who rotate in and out right now. It's me, T.J. Jones, number 0, Caleb Jones, number 21, Dallas Harper, number 12. That's kind of our safety rotation right now. Devin Thomas, number 14. Coming back from injury, he'll be in the rotation, everything safety-wise. But I'd probably say T.J. Jones, number 0, safety. Definitely a sleeper. You know, we've had guys on the team who have like been getting loved, had their names in the articles and everything. But I feel like he, you know, deserves a lot more recognition. I played with him last year. Gonna play with him up the coming year. We built a relationship, you know, together as far as like talking wise on the field, off the field, and everything. And I feel he does a lot of things well on the football field. You know, great tackler, can cover well. You know, he's a great safety to have alongside me. You know, I love having him as a team and everything, so I definitely think that's a sleeper. So, you know, if you watch Duquesne games, you know, look out number 0, T.J. Jones for sure.
Okay, T.J. Jones. Shout out to him, man. Also, man, before I get into this game, I'm going to play with you. I just want to give a shout out to running back Sean Solomon, Brashear alum. He's down there. He's a teammate of yours.
Sure.
Good luck, Solomon. Finish helping Duquesne Dukes, man. Keep winning them games. So, we're going to move on, man. I got a hip-hop game for you and an NFL deep-back game. We're going to start with the hip-hop game first. So I'll throw out 2 names, and it's like you'll tell me, like, if I say Nas or Jay-Z, you just say Nas, or you know what I mean? So the first one is Future or Drake?
Starting off, everyone knows I'm a Drake. I gotta go Drake.
Okay.
That's tough. I gotta go Drake though. Yeah.
Lil Baby or the Baby?
At one point, I'd have gave it to the Baby in 2020, 2019. But I'm gonna have to go Lil Baby. My dad's a big fan of those 2 actually too. So
That's what's up.
Shout out to him too.
Sexy Red or Lotto?
I don't. I could definitely say I got a lot more Sexy Red that I've listened to than Lotto, so I don't know. I might have to give the Sexy Red. I ain't gonna lie, I have to give the Sexy Red.
Okay. Pusha T or Jim Jones?
Pusha T.
Travis Scott or Kanye West?
I'm personally gonna go Travis Scott.
Okay, nothing wrong with it.
I'm messing Travis.
Now we're gonna go on to the end. We're gonna see where your D-back skills is at, man. Ask you about some of these D-backs. Derwin James or Harrison Smith?
I'm going Derwin James. You know, I love watching Derwin James play. You know.
Yeah, he's a terror.
He was elite at Florida State and elite as a rookie.
Yes.
Up to this point in LA. So Derwin James.
Minka Fitzpatrick or Jesse Bates III?
I'm gonna go Minka. I love watching Minka at Bama.
Yeah, me too.
Jesse Bates ain't no slight though.
No, he ain't. He's a dog.
Legit. But Minka's on the Steelers. You know, I love watching them as a Steeler and everything. So I'm gonna give it to Minka.
Patrick Surtain II or Sauce Gardner?
Patrick Surtain. I was just talking with my teammates the other day, but he's just elite. Like there's just no other word.
He's special.
Technical, footwork, technique, everything. He's just elite. That's why Defense Player of the Year is a corner. So he's elite.
Jalen Ramsey or Denzel Ward?
Right now, Denzel. I'm gonna give it to Denzel Ward. But a couple years ago, definitely Ramsey. Ramsey was elite. Florida State, Jacksonville, and everything. I remember he was terrorizing the Steelers. Back in
Him and AJ Bouye, they was killing us.
They were elite. So I definitely say back then Ramsey. Right now, Denzel Ward for sure.
Joey Porter or J.C. Horn?
I'm gonna give it to J.C. Horn. I like Joey Porter, Steelers and everything, but J.C. Horn, he's coming off injury, I believe, and everything. Didn't get to showcase too much, but when he's healthy, he's elite to watch for sure.
Okay, man, I want to thank my guests, Duquesne Northeast Conference, first team defense safety, Antonio Epps. Like I said, first team. Check him out. They playing the Pitt Panthers Saturday over at Aquashore Stadium. Look for him to ball out, man. So check him out. Stay tuned. I'm Platt, man. Have a good one, y'all. Thanks, Epps.
Appreciate you for having me.
Yep.